Los Angeles, and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on Thursday, September 23rd. The LA Galaxy getting ready for a trip to Austin, Texas, where they'll take on Austin FC, the worst team in the Western Conference, which should mean 3 points for the LA Galaxy. And I'm going to tell you at the very end of the show why that might not happen. Is that a good way? No, that's not a good way to start it, but I'm going to tell you anyway. You're just going to have to hang out. We're going to figure it out. All right. We have a lot to get to. LD celebration details are starting to fall out. Only 10 days. I have a cool little graphic we'll put up. 10 days until El Tráfico coming up on October 3rd. So get you a little ready for that. LD, statue unveiling, a whole bunch of things that are coming up. You're going to want to get that. So a lot to get to. Some stats, some fun, some schedule. All things that you love, that we love. And I know what you love even more than you love me. You love Sophie. And Miss Sophie Nicolaou is back once again. Soph, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. All the better for hearing your dulcet tones. And let me just say, I feel like I'm in the observatory with your background. It's very soothing. It's very cool. I'm ready for a little space story. I mean, every time I speak to you, you've got some new lighting or some new gadget or some new thing. Yeah. And it's quite spectacular, to be quite frank.
Well, welcome to my wife. I mean, she has to deal with this all the time.
Did you say wife?
Yes,
you didn't say life.
No,
right?
I did. I said, no, my wife. My wife is always like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm going to, and the crazy thing is we redid our office. So her desk is right next to mine. We now made a super long desk. She has her own space on that side. And it is wonderfully dainty and clean, and then you have me, and I have like 2 lights in my face, a giant boom microphone, mood lighting behind the screen. I got a laser light thing going. Yeah, I'm nuts. And I wasn't on Amazon today looking for more lights and different things that I could do.
Of course you weren't.
No,
of course you're not spending the baby's college fund.
No, not at all. That reminds me, got to do that too. College. What do you think? Hopefully I'm dead by then. I mean, quite honestly, let's just keep our fingers crossed. That's how he's getting to college. He may have to off me. So yeah, that's where it is. How are you doing, Soph? Good?
I'm doing good. Apparently there was just a wee earthquake, just a baby one, like a 3-pointer. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
just a little one.
Is that a thing? I mean, if it's below a 3, can you even say you felt it if you're from Southern California? You've been here long enough.
I don't think that should be reported. It shouldn't be a hashtag on Twitter. Right. There shouldn't be people on Twitter right now saying earthquake.
Did you feel it?
There shouldn't be people in chat saying earthquake.
Yeah.
But it was in Carson again. This is what's worrying. Listen, all I need to do is be near the rock if the big one hits.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I like it. Everything else going well? Everything's good? We're rocking. What do you think of the LA Galaxy's winless in 6? I know you have many thoughts. I'll let you, sound off for a little bit.
It's really poor.
Yeah.
I mean, how's this happened? I remember a few months ago on the show, I was raving about how this team, through loss and adversities, really come together. There's something very special and unique about the group. Felt like they could overcome anything, having gone through some of those life-changing moments. But also, on the flip side of that, have those moments taken their toll on some of the players? The international break has not helped. at all. I always find it so aggravating because in the Premier League, it's right at the beginning of the season, Josh, right?
Right.
And there's another one coming up in just a week or so. But then also with MLS, it comes at the business end of the season as well. And that's a huge challenge. But I'm not sure if Vanny knows. I think he knows his best 11. But yes. I think through some injuries and through, just not being able to select some players, he's found it difficult to juggle that. And I don't want to say I'm disappointed and I expected more from him, because I do think it's been challenging with so many players coming in. It's like a revolving door of new players. Mm-hmm. So there was bound to be a hiccup. What I think, Josh, is that have they gone through their bad moments and are they going to pick it up at the business end of the season, get that consistency going again, which they've completely lacked over the last 6 games.
Right.
Chicharito missing eventually hurt them. Right. No matter what you say, him not being fit has hurt them. So this is the time now. They've got to build on something, and it's got to start somewhere, and you cannot afford to lose to Austin FC. That would be a big fat no-no. So start the consistency train there. Yeah, that's all they can do.
I mean, and that's the important thing now is to find, that level, find that consistency so you can build that forward and go. It's going to be interesting. I know what you're saying with the best 11, and I have an argument that even your best 11 might be not your starters, because in some ways I think some of the best people they can put on the field can't go 90 minutes, so maybe they don't start, and maybe you have to build into that lineup into the second half. But you still have you should have a consistent starting lineup at this point. This is it though. You have 9 games left. You have to get that. You have to get those players in. You have to start, linking all this stuff together. You only have 9 games. I think there's a lot of reasons for the Galaxy. I was actually talking to somebody today, and I was sort of going through it, and I was like, and we've said it on this podcast, and it's going to be a broken record for a lot of people. But it's the fact that the LA Galaxy are not a possession-based team, and they don't play that way. When they play possession-based, they possess to nowhere, and it's difficult for them to build into something. They're better as a counter-attacking team, but that means they have to have a team that actually comes at them in order to be that, right? And it's like, who's gonna come at them, knowing that they're it's the best teams that come at them. And then you sit there and say, well, Josh, what did they do against Sporting Kansas City? What did they do against Seattle? What did they do against Colorado? Right? And the answer is they lost to all of them, right? Except for the second game in Colorado where they drew. But that was a game where Colorado came at them as well, and that was one of their better games. So I sit there and go, okay, if you're on the road for the Galaxy, then this should be a comfortable place for you, because you like to counter. Even if you don't think you're a counter-attacking team, you like to counter, play a little defense first, counter, that type of thing. So we will see where that ends up. I still think that the key to all this is scoring the first goal, and we've talked about that a whole bunch. The Galaxy's record when scoring first goal is ridiculously good and ridiculously bad when they don't score the first goal. So they have to do something in order to get that confidence to be able to score that first goal. And I haven't seen it. I don't see it right now.
Josh, they're too pedestrian to be counter-attacking. The midfield is so pedestrian sometimes. And that has come also through old legs. Sasha has been good in spurts. Vasquez, but they've got a lot of mileage. They're in the twilight of their careers, and I think it can work for a while, but I don't think it's worked effectively. And it and even Dos Santos, they don't move the ball quick enough, fast enough. And Leggett, I don't know what's going on with him in the sense that I think he's been sideways, backwards passing. I see him do it for the US men's national team. And sometimes that comes from growing in confidence in the team. And I saw him evolve a little bit with the US men's national team, but it's just too static. And I think, Cabral makes really good runs, but his second move or his second touch is the poorest when it has to be the strongest. And I was going to ask you this. Do you think Vanny's just been stubborn sticking with him, or are there really no better options?
No, I think that you will see. It would be my guess, at least in Austin. I wouldn't be surprised if Cabral's on the bench. But having said this, again, we talk about growing into lineups, right? You grow into a lineup during a game because maybe you can't get, like Victor Vasquez or Sasha Kleshin. Maybe those guys being on the field is the best, but you can't start them and have them go 90 minutes. That's not the best for the team. And so where do you go with? So there needs to be this base lineup. And then you need to be able to evolve either into more defensive or more offensive, and you need to have players that can fit into that as well. And I think with all the number of games that have come back to back to back, Vanny has had to rotate more than probably he would want to. And now he doesn't have. Now you're more or less settled for that. This is a sprint down to the finish, right? Austin, there should be no rotation. You should get exactly what you want. Yes, you can worry about the midweek game in RSL a little bit if you want to. But it's not the important game to win out of these next two, right, is the Austin game. You go to RSL afterwards, deal with whatever you need to deal with in the RSL game.
Got to get a point there.
I mean, it would be nice. It would be great. I just, again, on the road for so many games you can't tell me anybody feels confident about the Galaxy getting a point anywhere, not at home or on the road. So for me, that one's important. And the LAFC game is important, right? Win your home games is more important, especially from a team that's trying to creep into that. And so win your home games. So for me, the RSL game is, hey, if you got a point, that'd be great. And if not, then make sure you get 6 points from the two that are on either side of that. And there's a lot of question marks around this team. So, I mean, we'll get more into this. I don't want to completely go. I want to remind everybody, we are playing our secret word game again. So it's your job in the chat room to guess your secret word. We're going to try this time. Again, it'll be free guesses for everybody. I think maybe next week we might do $1 super chat guesses after that. It's not really to raise money, more just that way you actually have to guess for real, like your final answer, and not just start throwing words up against the wall whenever you don't know what it is. So Sophie and I, it's our job tonight to say the word enough so that way we have definitely said it, but not enough for you guys to guess it. All right. So hopefully we're good enough for that. And I think we've been doing a good job so far. So
I think so.
Yeah. So we will continue that. So before we get too far, though, let's play our first game of the night. Or I guess we're already playing the secret word game, but we'll play this game again. I want to play the Wikipedia guessing game. Just to loosen everybody up, get your minds thinking. Remember our rules here on Corner of the Galaxy for this. And again, I know other people play this game in different ways. The way we do it is very simple, is that there is a current LA Galaxy player and we go on their Wikipedia and then we go to the teams that they have played for and youth career, senior team, that type of thing. And it's your job in the chat room to guess. I will read off these things. And then if you're guessing on the podcast as well, you can go ahead. So if you are listening to our podcast, it's your job to email me afterwards and tell me what it is. And I will randomly pick somebody to win something from this. The chat room in this particular game, you win nothing except for a handshake. So that'll be fun. All right. Here is our Wikipedia entry for today, our Wikipedia guessing game for today. A youth career consisted of Central Coast Condors, Santa Barbara Soccer Club, Barca Residency Academy, and the LA Galaxy Academy starting in 2018. In 2018, also LA Galaxy 2. 2019 was LA Galaxy. So that's the senior career there. National team appearances for the United States for U18, U19, U20, U23, and approximately, actually exactly one appearance for the United States senior national team. Sophie, if I gave you all of these, would you have, I told you who it was before we started, but would you have known that it was this person?
I would have. The one thing that would have given it away for me, not given it away, but I would have given a good crack at it, is the Barca Residency
I understand.
Academy. But when you look at the teams and the national team, it would be a pickle. I think you've picked up a good one.
I'll be honest with you. The chat room was pretty quick on it. Julian Araujo is the correct answer. Francisco Reyes, I think you are the first one who got it. Good job. Congratulations. A little tip of the hat. So a little Wikipedia game for there. Julian Araujo. So our last one, I think, was Dan Steres. We went with another defender because Josh is obsessed with defenders, as I've been told many times. So we went with Julian Araujo. So there you go. You got your two players on the back line, and we'll try to go through the rest of the lineup as we go as well. Some of these are going to be like, they played in France, and you're going to be like, So we'll certainly go with that. So had good. As I reminded everybody at the top of the show, just 10 days till El Tráfico. Wendy from Twitter was nice enough to let us use her wonderful graphic. She has her nice little letterboard up on her counter next to her Cuisinart coffee grinder and her toaster, and it says 10 days till El Tráfico, and it's 10 days indeed. So start getting ready for that. That's going to be a lot of fun.
That picture is on point,
isn't it? It's a solid picture. It is nice granite countertops too. I like those black countertops. I mean, that's me. That's where I grew up. That was my grow up, is those black. Everybody had those black granite countertops. So, all right, let's get to one thing that we talked a little bit about on Monday, and the LA Galaxy on Tuesday, of course, sent out the email that officially put this into the rules for the Galaxy, and that is that starting on the game against Portland, which I believe is on October 16th, against the Portland Timbers, LA County guidelines are going to mandate that you have a photo identification with matching proof of a full COVID-19 vaccine, or photo identification with a matching negative COVID-19 viral test result from within 72 hours of kickoff time. The big thing that just sort of went in here is they said the LA Galaxy will have some on-site COVID-19 testing, which will help you if you don't have that. If you're going to do that, I would suggest you show up very early, because I have a feeling there's going to be a whole bunch of people who decide to go that way whenever they do it. So it will take a long time to get through those. So make sure you do that. And then the other thing is that if you bought tickets for these and you don't want to abide by these rules, the LA Galaxy say that they will not be offering any ticket refunds. There's plenty of ways for you to abide by this, either by the negative test or by being fully vaccinated. And so they feel that they've covered that. And so that is your warning for all this. And of course, guests under the age of 12 are not yet permitted to be vaccinated and are not required to provide a negative COVID-19 test. But like all attendees, will be required to wear a mask at all times except when actively eating or drinking. That's the current rule that we've been following anyway. So that is the official rule from the LA Galaxy. Wanted to throw that out there. So easy enough. We've been wearing masks in the press box forever. And so we'll just show all of our stuff that's there. So that'll start October 16th, will not be in place for the October 3rd game, because the LA County health order, even though it's in effect, it doesn't start taking place until October 7th.
You mean after El Tráfico?
After El Tráfico. What did I say?
I'm just being cheeky. Like, yes. I wonder why it's I mean, it's a county mandate. It's a county thing. Not just because of the soccer game, but yeah. It's one of those fun things that we will go through. So that's what we have. A lot of stuff coming up around this El Tráfico game, though, Sophie, and so we'll get to that in just a second, because I want to start first with a little FIFA rankings. Right? You play FIFA, Sophie. You're a big video game person. You were telling me you can barely put it down, right? I have no idea. I still play Tetris, and that game where, I still like playing that game where you knock the brick wall down. Do you remember, with that little line that was on the bottom of your screen? That is a great game, though. Yeah, I love that game. What's the name of that? What's that? I'm sure somebody will. Hopefully somebody will remind us. But it was, I had a Spectrum 48. And that was my jam. That was your jam? I love it. Yeah. I love it. That's amazing. Okay, so then you're probably not up to date on the latest, but in the newest EA FIFA game, the 2022 game version of the game coming out, they released some of the rankings, and the LA Galaxy went out and rated and had all of the rankings of their players. I'm just going to go over a couple of these just in case you care. Javier Hernandez is the highest rated LA Galaxy player at a 78 overall. Jonathan Dos Santos is a 77, which shows that clearly nobody's been paying attention to this season for Jonathan Dos Santos, because he would be much lower on my list of all these players. Victor Vasquez, a 72. Joveljic is a 71. That's actually pretty high for young Dayon there. And then Sebastian Lletget, a 71. Grant Ciro, 71. Villafaña, 70. Araujo, 69. This is, again, how you know, like, Araujo's ceiling is so much higher, though. So I feel like eventually that 69 is going to go a little bit higher there. Derek Williams, Sasha Kleshtin, both 69. Jonathan Bond, 68. Ravellison, 68. Cabral, 67. Sega Coulibaly, 66. Anyway, that's sort of where you sit there. I sort of cut it off at Efrain Alvarez at a 65. So that's sort of where we sit. What time period is it? Do you know, is it just season so far? So they update them periodically whenever it comes through. And so players that are in good form can have their rankings, their form sort of swing up, or if they're in bad form, their form sort of swing down. So the problem, of course, is that it goes on the
let's say the majority of the big leagues calendar, which they just started, which is why now they're releasing because they've had some time to sort of get there and now the rankings are in. Whereas in the LA Galaxy, have been playing since, March or April or whenever we started this ridiculously long season that I'm sure will only get longer whenever they add the Leagues Cup into all this. So I'm not talking about the Leagues Cup today. I want everybody to know I refuse to talk about that. It's coming in 2023.
But we got a press notice about it, Josh. Come on now.
I can't. So you're going to add another 3 to 6 games to an MLS schedule that already will have the U.S. Open Cup, CCL for some teams, regular league play, international breaks, and then you're going to take a full month off of the season in the middle of the summer to play Leagues Cup. Does that sound like fun? It doesn't sound
it's
like
like
fun.
Europe now. It's like it's nonstop. The season is what do they get? 2 months off at best.
I mean,
2 months.
You're going to have to start
crazy.
in February. You're going to have to start in February, which they did in 2020, at the very beginning of 2020, they started in February, the very last day of February, but February anyway. And so now I'm thinking you're going to have to start playing in like the middle of the February 15th. They're going to be playing games on Valentine's Day. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to that game because I don't know if I'll be given permission. I've never had to deal with this before, and apparently now I will. So,
do fans care about it? I know we've had this conversation before. It was kind of fun when there was a game I went to. It was fun. It was they played a lot of players that you don't often see. They mixed up the team. It was fun. But do fans really care about this competition? Is it just like in Europe? You've got so many domestic competitions, it becomes a bit of a money grab. You know what I mean? I am understanding that I'm going through like my different levels of grief with this, right? Like I will get to acceptance eventually and I'll be like, this isn't that bad, blah, 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 the whole deal. But as of right now, I'm firmly denial. I'm in denial. It's not happening. And I think it's stupid. It was funny. I talked to Dennis Kloese, and if you missed my hour-long talk with Dennis Kloese about youth development, which I thought was fun for me. I don't know if everybody else finds it fun. I always find fun talking about that stuff. But Dennis, I threw that in at the end. I'm like, we're not going to talk about Leagues Cup. And he was sort of like, yeah, let's see how they make that work, right? Oh, he didn't even want to talk about it.
No, he was like, right, the whole deal. And I was like,
right.
Well, more a higher salary cap, maybe an extra DP, maybe another international slot. There's a whole bunch of things you'd have to do in order to make a roster deep enough to be able to compete against Liga MX in a month-long tournament. So anyway, it's neither here nor there, Sophie. And for me, I like the consistency of a season. I like to just, go through a season, and it's like every weekend you have a game, and sometimes you have a midweek game, but not all the time. No, you don't have to go every Wednesday. You don't have to be paying attention every Wednesday.
You're doing really well not talking about it, by the way.
Anyway, yes, thank you for getting me back on track, because I will get angry about it even more. So that's sort of where we sit. The big news, and I will say it is big news, I think it was, is that the LA Galaxy today announced all of their schedule for the Landon Donovan events. Is this something you're excited about, or do you not care?
I'm very excited about this. I am a huge Landon fan. When I started covering the LA Galaxy was when Alexi Lalas was the GM and Beckham arrived that first day with all the fanfare. And you had Landon kind of, sullen Landon, not appreciating all the hoopla and the love that he was getting. And just the journey from that moment, I just loved it. And I loved Landon and Robbie Keane together. That was just a good time and a great time to cover the team. So deserved. I think he should have got his statue before Beck's, actually, but I understand from a marketing point of view, it makes sense for Beckham to get it first. So yes, I'm very excited about this. I loved the Beckham event. That was superb. The whole unveiling of that statue. The turnout was brilliant. The amount of fans there, the ceremony, all of it was just epic. So yeah, I'm digging it. I love it.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and events throughout the week, actually starting this weekend. Let's get you updated on what those events are. Saturday, September 25th, the Landon Donovan Legacy Project. They're going to be painting murals at Bonita Elementary School. This is from 8 to 11 a.m. or 1 to 4 p.m. That's something I believe that LA Galaxy season ticket members can also participate in. They can go ahead and find those that information in a season ticket member email that went out today. So you can participate in some of these things that are coming up as well. The other interesting thing, and this is a lot bigger than I initially realized because they didn't really spell it out 100% whenever they released it to us, but looking and reading into some other stuff, is Saturday, October 2nd, LA Galaxy 2 will host San Diego Loyal, of course, which is Landon's team that he coaches down in San Diego. So that means LA Galaxy 2 versus San Diego Loyal at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. If you're a season ticket member, you can actually go to this game, Sophie. And G2 games have not been open to the public. They've been open to like family members and close friends of players and types of things. But this is an actual, if you're a season ticket member for sure, and I don't know if they're going to open it up to everybody else, but it will be at Dignity Health Sports Park. The supporters are hosting a party beforehand, Sophie. So between, I think, 6 and 7, there's a party out in the tailgate areas before this game. So LA Galaxy 2 versus San Diego Loyal. You get a chance to see a G2 game this year if you haven't, and that game kicks off at 7:30 p.m. So you can make a whole weekend of this already, starting on October 2nd. One of those things that you can do and go to that game. On October 3rd, they are saying and encouraging fans to arrive by 2 p.m. because the Landon Donovan statue ceremony will kick off at 3 p.m. out in Legends Plaza there. And then after that ceremony, it goes LA Galaxy versus LAFC. And then at halftime, and I don't know if this was widely reported or not, Sophie, it was something certainly that I didn't notice at first, but it makes sense that it would happen. Landon Donovan will be inducted into the LA Galaxy's Ring of Honor at halftime. So he gets Legends Plaza with the statue and then inducted into the Ring of Honor at halftime. And I have one more event that's not on this that they told us about, but they gave us absolutely no details. And Sophie, hopefully it'll spur some memories of you of maybe perhaps something you've done in a past life, and you might think about doing again. But there will be a private dinner for Mr. Landon Donovan, and I don't know who's throwing it. I'm assuming AEG is throwing it, but it's happening on that Friday night before all this other stuff. So there is a very secret dinner. Is that something
we're invited to?
Absolutely not. I already asked. I was like, so when's my ticket come?
You and DTS are besties now. Get us a ticket.
No, I was trying. I mean, I was like, hey, so yeah, I would love to cover that. And they're like, yeah, I'd love to be invited. So so there are people within the LA Galaxy front office who aren't invited to this dinner. I'm like, is Dan Beckerman having it like in his office and there's like 3 people? Like, but they put it on our release. Yeah. It said Landon Donovan private dinner, no details.
That's a tease. That's terrible. They shouldn't have told us.
I know, because now I'm like, so should I just get my catering outfit ready to go? I mean, are we going to have to crash this party? Sophie, have you ever crashed a party before?
Okay, so I don't want this to sound like, please take this in the spirit of which I'm going to say this, okay?
I love it.
Being a publicist in the entertainment industry for so many years, I never really had to crash a party. Because I was either throwing a party at Fox or Sony Pictures or being invited by the other film companies to them. But,
so you're super fancy. Okay, yes, go ahead.
But as a publicist too, so Tony came with me to the Cannes Film Festival. I think it was in 2015. And I was busy working and stuff like that. And she was off doing her, she loves taking pictures. She's got this fancy camera and stuff like that. And she sent me a picture of herself. And I was like, where are you? And she said, I've just crashed the Expendables press junket. And I said, what? And as a publicist, I was horrified because I know the publicists who are working that junket. And then the next picture I got was Tony with Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jean-Claude Van Damme and Ronda Rousey and all these people. And in my mind, I'm like, get out of there right away. If anyone finds out, if you get busted and they find out that you're mine, I'm in big trouble. So by relations? Not directly, but indirectly through, family relations, there was a crashing at the Cannes Film Festival, but it ended very well, actually.
She's already my favorite person. I get it 100%. I have a problem with authority, which means that I'm scared to death of ever doing anything like that. I think the closest that we ever came was after my sister got married, and so I was in the wedding party, that type of thing, did the whole thing, and Then we went out afterwards. The wedding party decided that we didn't have enough drinking and fun at just the party. And so they went, obviously my sister and my brother-in-law went away. And so we went out. And so we went to this bar and they're like, we're sorry, this is, like a private event. Like it's somebody's having like a bachelorette party in here and stuff like that. And we're like, yeah, we know, we're with them. And they're like, oh, okay. And so we went in. And we partied with those people. So that was about as close as I ever came. I have another question for you, just because I kind of had a feeling that maybe you were too fancy to have ever crashed a party. I like this. What's the most star-studded party you've ever attended? And I know there's bazillion to think about. So who was the one where you were like, I can't believe I'm here?
It would have to be, without hesitation, the BAFTA Awards in the 90s, where Elizabeth Taylor was honored. And I have to say that was a moment where she came out on stage and she's talking, and I'm leaning over to my colleague and I'm like, oh,
wow, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is Elizabeth Taylor.
Yep.
I mean, that was a moment. That was massive.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything that can match any of that stuff. I haven't. I mean, I stood in the locker room with David Beckham, but so did you. So I mean,
But those moments as well, you're like, Zlatan was one of those, because he's so imposing. He's such a larger than life figure.
Yep.
And then when you see him in in detail and depth, you can see his tattoos and and he's humanized when we see them in those moments. They're all humanized, but I mean, yes, I'm talking Sunday roast dinners with Steven Gerrard was pretty fantastic as well. I love that. I mean, that's one of my favorite anecdotes.
There's little crazy, stupid moments where you're sitting there going, "What am I doing here? Why? Why did they let me in here? That shouldn't have." I do that all the time, though. That's like one of those. Whenever I went to Dodger Stadium because the Galaxy were playing at that, the Champions Cup or whatever they. Yeah. That
the
thing.
International Champions Cup.
That's what the ICC. Yeah. And I was like, why am I in the Dodgers press box? Why? That's where Vin Scully sits right there. Why am I here? So
it's cool. It's so cool, isn't it? I love those moments.
It's very cool. Well, if you have, Sophie, a bunch of coin to drop and you're feeling particularly saucy, there is one thing. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to start with the price. This is a $1,200 thing that you could go to if you have $1,200. I will tell you it ends up being about $600 per person, which may, again, be well outside your price zone. But I'm going to tell you that in terms of if you had this money lying around and you are a big fan of Landon Donovan, I'm telling you, for what I see here and what you get, I feel like you're getting a pretty good value in this. One is for $1,200, and it ends up being a donation to the LA Galaxy Foundation. So donation, whenever this happens, you get 2 reserve seats at the Donovan statue unveiling. That's pretty cool. So up front, you're going to get reserve seats. You're not going to have to stand in the masses or in the press gallery with all of us morons over there. So you're going to get 2 reserve seats of that. You get 1 professional photo with Landon Donovan following the statue. So you get a picture with the man on the day that he is honored. That's something you're never going to forget. You're going to get, this one is whatever, a 2021 LA Galaxy home jersey signed by Landon Donovan. Okay, that's cool. And then you get 2 Platinum Club seats. So the best seats in the house, including all of the amenities that go with the Platinum Club whenever you get there. So I believe you get the underground seats and all that stuff to the Champions Lounge and things like that. And you get that seat for the LA Galaxy versus LAFC. Now, those are expensive seats in a game that is sure to sell out. And to me, that's already $200, $250, $300 to be sitting in those seats for that game. And basically, you're paying another $300 to get all those other things, and you meet the man of the day that he's happening. Again, that's sort of where I understand $1,200 is a lot of money. I get it. I'm just saying that if you had that lying around, I, being a Landon Donovan fan that I am, would consider that. I don't have $1,200 around, and I get to go for free because I'm part of the press, but I don't get any of the cool stuff, and I don't get to sit in the night seats, and I don't get to drink, and I don't get the signed jersey.
We don't get to take pictures with them
We don't get to take pictures ever. I do have a picture with me and Landon Donovan that I didn't take. It was part of an LA Galaxy media scrum, and Robert Mora, the always excellent Robert Mora photographer for the LA Galaxy, took a picture shooting across Landon, and I was back there, and that's hanging up in my studio. Just because I'm like, that's me and that's Landon, and that's a thing that I will never forget that happened. Type of thing.
I have one with Beckham by default, and can you believe it? I closed my eyes.
Of course,
my eyes are closed.
Of course you did.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
No, I mean, makes sense.
Yeah, terrible. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I tell you, if I'm loaded, if there's one thing I'm spending money on always is flying first class and getting VIP tickets to any sporting or concert event. Done. always.
Yes, and I agree. And I will say that in all of my life, one time I got to fly first class. My ex-wife is a flight attendant, and we were going down to Mexico, down to Cabo. And because she was a flight attendant and we were on a rival airline, but they're all very nice to each other. And they came back and they were like, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Guesman, your first class upgrades are ready for you. Just follow us. And the leg room was amazing. So, but I'll never have that again. You know, I fly Southwest everywhere. So that's my thing. That's what I do. All right. Yeah. Everybody's like, Josh, just put it on the credit card. Just put it on the COG credit card. Not a problem. We'll do that and make that happen. So anyway, so that's where we're sitting on all of this stuff. That's the Landon Donovan stuff. All the stuff coming up on October 3rd, October 2nd, starting this weekend. Go to lagalaxy.com. You can find that. Now, the man that I talked to, Sophie, on Tuesday night for an hour is the rumor central swirling around him. He's got a bunch of rumors around him. We've talked a whole bunch about Dennis Kloese possibly leaving the LA Galaxy. His contract is up at the end of this year. The Galaxy have an option on his contract if they want to exercise that. But I am here to tell you, and I can confirm and have been confirming for a while, that Dennis Kloese has been receiving offers from outside of the MLS sphere. I know there was FC Cincinnati who was sort of like, oh, well, maybe we'll put him on our list, that type of thing. That turned out to be, oh, well, we probably haven't even talked to him, but maybe he's on our list. That's sort of what it turned out to be. But this is real. This seems to be some Tom Bogert from MLSsoccer.com. I love it when they report on their own league, is saying that Chivas, where Dennis Kloese was the director of scouting at one point and does have some links and certainly has a lot of links in Mexico, he is perhaps interested in that job. So we'll see if Chivas can reel that in. But I will tell you this, and I know there's a whole bunch of people who understand this, is that Dennis Kloese will have no problems finding a suitor somewhere and go somewhere. I just think it would be really interesting if you're the LA Galaxy that you finally start to turn things around. And this year is definitely a step forward. Yes, there's lots of work to do. Yes, there's lots of building to do. But this year was better than last year, and that's what it's supposed to be. And because of that, if you make a change like this, and let's say you put Greg Vanney in charge of everything, and some people are for that and some people are against that. I'm against that. I don't think senior team coaches have enough time to also be worrying about the academy level and talking to parents and doing all the stuff that they need to be doing and all that. So you need to split that stuff up and really give it to people who know what they're doing and are passionate about it. And so if you could give Greg Vanney that and 2022 becomes a step backwards, Sophie, well, then now people get fired. Right? If 2022 becomes a step backwards and Dennis Kloese is here, then Dennis Kloese gets fired. Right? Yeah. I feel like they think they have everything figured out and that they no longer need Dennis. That's certainly, it just feels that way. I don't know if that's the way that it'll play out. So, but that's, to me, if I'm them, I'm like, at least give them another year to sort of see where this thing is going. And then if you want to move it and the you can agree the team has stabilized everything, then you can move on from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What do you think his legacy is going to be? Or do we not know yet, depending on should that question be answered at the end?
Of course.
Of this season?
It doesn't mean we can't speculate. It's a mixed bag, obviously. GBS was a failure. Chicharito is under his watch. That's a mixed bag. Yes, very good at the beginning of this year, but injured. It's sort of like if he can't play, then that's a mixed bag. Although I'm not sure, and it's always the case with the big name signings, I'm not sure how much he had input on that. And then we have to argue about this thing. My biggest thing is that people always want to say, this is a Dennis player, this is a Greg Vanney player, blah, blah, blah. If there is a GM and there is a coach, there are mutual decisions that are made all the time. GBS had his input, and Dennis will go out and use that input to acquire players that GBS wanted. And it seems like Greg Vanney is doing the same thing with Dennis Kloese, saying, I like these guys. And Dennis is like, great, let's figure out how to make them work. But to me, it's a collection of people making decisions. Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, I agree with you. I think in order to really see, because this team came together this season, really. And I think that giving him an extra year lets us really see the development of the team. But how much power are you going to give him in that year to make key decisions and trades and all sorts of business decisions? And then is it out of his hands anyway? He's assembled the team now. It's really down to Greg Vanney, not DTS. It's not down to him anymore. He's given him the assets, the tools, the resources that he asked for. Now it's down to the coach to make it work. So if he does walk away, I think there'll be a lot of respect from some fans, but I think it also comes with a tinge of disappointment because the GBS years were dull.
Yeah, they were.
Grey.
I also think it's important, and it certainly centers around our talk that we had on Tuesday night with him, which is the youth development side of things was an absolute train wreck mess whenever he got here, and I feel like it is no longer that. So if he's going to have a legacy, and if he leaves now, certainly I think it's unfinished along that line. But if you look at guys like Julian Araujo, who signed a U22 contract, even Efrain Alvarez, as much as I don't think the ceiling is there for him, they're going to get a chance to sell him, and because they have him locked up under that U22, they're going to get their full amount in the contract for him whenever they decide to move him, that types of things. All the homegrown players that they've sort of, solidified and brought forward and got, I think it was Cuevas who is going to escape all of this and try to go play in Europe, and certainly that seems like that. But I will say that used to be the norm. The guys would just skip out on, going to the LA Galaxy and going and taking all of the development the Galaxy did through the academy and through LA Galaxy 2 and going to Europe. And GBS has stopped that, and he's, I think, made people feel appreciated and understand sort of where their best options are. And if that goes away, and they already lost their director of the academy, I think Juan Carlos Ortega, he's gone, now down with Tigres. So there's a hole there, and if you're not careful, you're going to lose DTK as well. And then where does all that work in the youth development go, and what does that mean down the line? That's a problem down the line.
That's the big one right there, because there's so much work that goes into that, and once you start building that strategic objective, someone could come in and completely flip it and say, "Oh, it's not important." And we've seen that happen before, not only in this league, but in leagues around the world. And it's probably, as time goes on, that becomes a really critical factor. And I think the thing that he's done too is, I'll give him credit for this, I think he's been really a good communicator.
Yes.
I think that's been something that was lacking and needed. All the negativity during the GBS time and the Chris Klein thing and fans being disgruntled. I think Dennis took a lot on the chin and really stepped forward more than any other executive.
Yes.
And I will give him credit for that, Josh.
Well, I mean, look at who, eventually who he replaced, which was Pete Vagenas. And Pete Vagenas, would walk by us pretending he was on the phone all the time. Dennis will stop and have a full-on conversation with you if you see him. And, he's open to that discussion. And he welcomes the criticism. I don't know. It's a whole different vibe. And you could get rid of that. And you could go a different way. I think if you're the LA Galaxy, if you're Chris Klein, you are now putting a lot. Guess what? Somebody's going to get fired if things go downhill in 2022, because it can't stay the way that it is if there's not continuous steps forward. Now, I think the Galaxy are set up in that. But what happens if there's a step backwards? Well, it's no longer DTK who's going to get fired. Right? I mean, there's like something to this that
it's not going to be Chris Klein either, mate.
I don't know. I know what you mean. Yes, 100%. But I mean, it would certainly seem that way because there's definitely been down years, and Chris Klein still has a job. So that's certainly one of those things. But it's one of those things. Why would you change if you were getting better and things look like they're pointed in a better direction right now than they have been in the last 4 years? And 2019 was that way as well. I need to preface this. 2019 was a good year. The Galaxy made the playoffs. They won a playoff game. Then they got bounced, and everybody goes, well, 2020 is going to be even better. And what happened in 2020? Step backwards, right? And so that's the stuff. If you're changing
unless
now.
He wants to leave. Unless he wants to leave. And that's, that's where the rubber will meet the road. If the club want to keep him for a year, fine. But if he wants to go and he wants a new challenge, then there's nothing you can do about that.
No, zero you can do. LA Galaxy weekly schedule coming up. We've went over this on Monday, but just to give you an idea of where we are, it is Thursday night. Tomorrow, let's say noonish plus about 30 or 40 minutes, the LA Galaxy will host their media availability with LA Galaxy head coach Greg Vanney, and I believe Sebastian Lletget is going to be the player who's in that. So
you love it when they do pressers the day after the show.
I was talking to Vicky Mercado in PR, and I'm like, if it was up to me, I would say that no matter how late the game is, Thursday is our cutoff, because, well, think about it for newspapers as well, right? Like if anybody who's covering, you're going to get more readers on a Friday morning or on a Friday or on a Thursday afternoon than you are going to get on a Friday afternoon and a Saturday morning, right? So any of the content you put out, she did have a good counter though, and that is Greg Vanney's injury reports are always much better whenever it's just 2 days days away from the match than if they're 3 days away from the match. Touche. And yes, I agree.
Well done, Vicky.
Yep. So she got me there. But yeah, I mean, selfishly, I'm saying Thursday's the cutoff. If that's it, we should go on Thursday. It was interesting. It was going to be on Thursday, actually. And the Galaxy were thinking about flying on Friday. Instead, they've now changed to flying on Saturday for the Sunday night game. So that is something that got changed a little bit. And so everything is headed in that direction. The Galaxy will train in the AM on Saturday. And then Saturday afternoon after training, they all head to the bus. They'll get on an airplane. They'll fly a really far away to Austin, Texas. It doesn't seem like it's that far, but it's a lot further than you think it is. In order to get there, they'll get there, and then the game will kick off at 6:30 p.m. on Sunday. It's the very last game of the MLS schedule. And I think we've talked about that before, but just in case we haven't, the LA Galaxy 6:30 p.m. coming up. At the last two games in September are upcoming here, Sophie. You have the Austin game on 9/26, and then like we told you, the RSL game kicks off on 9/29, and then it is just 10 days away from El Tráfico. You have the LA Galaxy and LAFC on October 3rd, Landon Donovan statue unveiling. That's there. Now, if you're paying attention at all this weekend, Sophie, there's one game that's very important for everybody to watch, and it's the last game on Saturday night. That is the Portland Timbers hosting Real Salt Lake. One, because Portland is only 1 point behind the LA Galaxy, and two is because the Galaxy will play RSL next, all right? And that means that RSL gets an extra day to rest, and they're going to be at home whenever this happens. And the LA Galaxy play the very last game on Sunday night. This game, ESPN2 and ESPN Deportes. So that's sort of where we sit on that. Have you started? I usually start right about now. So I start watching a lot more MLS games around the one, because you're starting to see everybody kick into form, right?
Yep. Well, you want LA Galaxy to kick in the form and be consistent and get that juju going again, and that's what you want. And yeah, these teams around them, I mean, the gap even between LA Galaxy and LAFC was 11 points at one stage in the season, maybe 12, I can't remember, one of the two. I mean, Seattle, Colorado, we've seen enough of them, to be honest with you. But then you look at the other side too, and who you might be facing down the road. But I mean, this is pretty tight here, It's very tight. We warned against this the whole time. Is that do not fall down into that race for 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You need to be in that race for 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think with a win against Austin, the Galaxy can provide a little separation again. Although I do expect Portland to beat RSL too. So, although I think that's going to be a close game, and RSL's at least a stingy team to play against. They've had some of the wind taken out of their sails, and you would imagine, Soph, that they are focused more on their home game against the LA Galaxy coming up on Wednesday than they will against this game against Portland, although it allows them to jump them in the standings. So there's all this time where it used to be you could focus on one game. I'm telling you, that's not happening anymore. You're gonna, every game is gonna be your best lineup, because you have to start winning every single game, and that means results on the road too. Like you said, a point on the road against RSL would be a huge and a very welcome point. Getting wins at home down the stretch is very welcome as well. The LA Galaxy at 38 points, Portland at 37, RSL at 36. Everybody's grouped right there, and there's not a lot of room to breathe. How many home games after this next? How many home games, how many away games left?
Yeah, so the LA Galaxy have, So 1, 2, 3, 4 home games are left, and that means 5 away games right now, because there's 9. So yeah, they're even, but it's shaded in terms of the away games. Now, after you play Austin, you'll have 8 games left. It'll be 4 and 4. So they'll be even, and that's how you can sort of. So if you win at Austin, reset, now you have 8 games. If you could win all 4 of your home games, which is a huge, giant ask, okay? Although there are some winnable games in here. LAFC is a winnable game. Portland is a winnable game. Dallas is a winnable game. Actually, you know what? All their home games are winnable games, even against Minnesota the last day of the year. So those are winnable games. Their road games are less winnable. Houston will be a tough game. I expect they could win that game, but you're at Sporting Kansas City. You're not winning that game. And you're at Seattle. You're not winning that game. It'd be great if you do, but you can't sit here and tell me that you're expecting that to happen. So again, win in Austin, set it up for 8 games, 4 and 4. And if you win all 4 of your home games, you very well could hold on to that 4th spot. You might even be able to climb into that 3rd spot. I know that sounds crazy, but let's see if Colorado peaked. I have this feeling. I really like Colorado. I think they're good, but I feel like they're the ones most likely to sort of stumble down this stretch. What do you think?
There's nothing more I would find joyous than to see Stan Kroenke's team fail miserably. I'm here for this. And you know what? Playing them, they was such a prickly team, especially that last home game.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of walked away thinking, how on earth did they lose that match?
Yeah, but they're good. I mean, they're
very prickly and they're
mature.
They're professional. They know how to see out a game.
Yeah,
they know how to do that, and I don't think that's going to be easy. Those 3 games are where it's going to be won and lost. That away game to Kansas, Seattle is always like. I mean, that's just such a tough place to go and play your football match, isn't it? Really. I mean, LA Galaxy just don't like going up there.
Let's pretend in a perfect world for a second. Let's pretend this is a perfect world. The LA Galaxy win against Austin. They get a point against RSL. Again, this is optimistic. You're thinking great. Okay, now you get into October. You have 3 home games in October. You win all 3 of those home games. If you do that, and those are all winnable home games, you have a very good chance of being in that top 4. In fact, a ridiculously good chance, because Greg Vanney talks about how some games, there's only a certain amount of games now really that can change your standings and change things. If you win enough points, however, you can change things, especially in this bottom group. So I feel like you could catch the Seattles and the Sporting Kansas Cities and the Colorados. Now, having said that, the LA Galaxy are winless in 6. They're 0-3-3. Their record, whenever they allow the first goal, is 1-7-3. Sophie, one time. That was the very first game, by the way, against Inter Miami is the one that they won whenever they allowed the first goal. And they are 10-2-2 when scoring the first goal. If I am Greg Vanney and I know this stat and I know how the LA Galaxy play, and I was talking to name drop time. I was talking to Taylor Twellman today because he's doing the game for ESPN on Sunday, and so I was talking to him a little bit, and I'm like, listen, I know this Galaxy team thinks that they are this big possession team and that they want to play pretty and it's tiki-taka and look how pretty we pass, look how good we move and all this stuff, except that it's absolutely toothless and nothing comes of it, and they give up the ball, and not only do they give up the ball, they give it up in a bad spot, they get turned, they get countered, and that allows them and exposes the back line, and then they're off to the races. Minnesota was the perfect example of that. 100%. Minnesota had 30.
Terrible game.
Oh, horrible game. Minnesota had 35% possession, Sophie. They had 10 chances to the LA Galaxy 65% and 5 chances. They doubled their chances because they knew how to exploit the LA Galaxy. And if the Galaxy score first, like they did against Minnesota the last time they were there, what happens? Galaxy win 1-0. Why? Because the Galaxy don't get stretched. They sit back. They're more compact. They need to learn how to play team defense. I don't know that that's happening this year. So if you're going to do that, play to your strengths. And your strength is not holding the ball and passing for nothing.
Firstly, did Taylor thank you for doing his job for him? I'm just saying. Like, I should have patted you on the back.
No. Taylor's always like, and we've talked. We've been friends for a really long time. But we always talk about games. And I told him today, I go, it's like I'm texting myself, right? Because he would just say, yeah, I see this too. I agree, blah, 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 the whole deal. And whenever I said they think they're a possession team, but they're probably better on the counter, he was like, I can totally see that. I understand what you're saying. I know what you're saying too, Sophie. You're like, where's the speed? Here's the thing about the counter, and this is where I wanted to get into, is when the Galaxy counter and they're successful, their outside backs push forward and bypass the midfield. So all that slowness that you have in the midfield that you don't necessarily love is fine, because that means you can push Julian Araujo up the right-hand side, you can push Nico Hamalainen up the left-hand side, you can get that speed on the outside, you can do those things. Even Villafana can get forward and does play forward a lot when he's there. And so that counter involves them, which allows one or two of the midfielders to suck back and be a little more defensive and help out in that play. But getting Chicharito in the box, getting Joveljic in the box, getting Cabral in the box, getting Grandsir in the box, all of those things happen when the Galaxy counter, and they don't allow teams to set up because they are not good enough right now to beat a bunkered team. They can't.
But also, how many crosses have they put in, and how many players have been on the end of them? And sometimes you need that midfield to push up, to be on the end of one of those, because, the flanks is where the speed is, and it's totally understandable. You want to get the ball in Araujo's feet. But you also need that support from midfield, as well as the fact that they want to be a little bit, protective and defensive, and sometimes
they do a horrible job of. They're
and it seems like sometimes not the team's confused, but they're just a pace too slow.
They don't get it. They don't get this system yet, and
no.
it's not like one of those things where you throw it out. You don't. You have to keep learning the system. This will be Vanny. He will be teaching the system. 2 and 3 years into this, Vanny will still be teaching the same system because this is Vanny's system, and he will find guys who learn it and who play it. And right now, they seem so lost. They don't know where each other is supposed to be. They, especially in the midfield, right? Look at the midfield and how it moves, and you're like, somebody, like, they're looking around for each other so often. Like, where's my next pass? They don't know where the next pass is. They don't know where other people are going to be, and that has to come with time. And if you look at that midfield, there's been no consistency there. I mean, where's the consistency for the LA Galaxy in the midfield?
This is why, when I said earlier, this is why Leggett passes sideways and backwards a lot. Because those things that you're talking about are just not happening. No. And then it looks like he's playing negative football. He's not really. He's protecting the ball, if anything. He is. I know I was a little hard on him earlier, but I think that's what's happening.
No, he's absolutely doing that. You nailed it, and that's what you see. That's why everybody's like, "Well, why can't Sebastian Leggett play like he does on the U.S. men's national team?" Well, great. Make some runs in front of him and watch him find those people. Watch him get him into the attack in a comfortable spot where he knows he has coverage behind. Because so often with the LA Galaxy, Leggett has to come back and try to play cleanup in the center, and you can't have a guy who wants to go forward and just be like score goals and be that offensive threat whenever he knows there's going to be nobody in the center whenever there's a counterattack, nobody quick enough to be there, and he's going to have to be that guy.
And he's also playing with better players in the US men's national team. That's just the truth. That team is like, there's got some rock stars in it now. It's totally different, which is going to help him in his game. But this is what makes you look at this team. Like when you talk about Dennis, like, Vasquez and Kloese and Dos Santos, even Leggett, like what's going to happen with this group in particular? It's interesting.
I was just arguing in the Discord about this, and I said, you can't assign people to like GMs, like, right? Or you can't assign people to coaches, right? It's like, oh, well, this isn't Vanny's guy. But there are some very clear Vanny guy, DTK guys. Sasha Kloese is probably a Dennis Kloese guy. I'm sure that Greg Vanny is fine with that. That's fine. Victor Vasquez, clearly a Greg Vanny guy.
He's a Greg Vanny guy.
Right. Yeah, and so it's like one of those. Sebastian Leggett was before either of those guys. He's one of the longest tenured players on the LA Galaxy, and you realize why he's still on the team. I still think he's incredibly valuable. People keep wanting to get rid of him, and I'm like, no, you're crazy.
I wouldn't. What are you going to do? Who are you going to bring in?
No, Jonathan Dos Santos is the one who doesn't really have a future with this team, for sure. Victor Vasquez is getting older, so his future is limited. But it depends on what role you want him to play. Sophie, do you want him to come in with the last 25 minutes to try to find something? I would. I like Victor Vasquez.
I'd have him off the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. But he can't be your 90 minutes. He can maybe be a 60-minute guy, but we talk about building into a lineup. What are you going to do whenever you need to score a goal and have your best 11 on the field in the 75th minute? Sometimes it can't be Sasha Kloese, who already played the first 60 minutes. He can't be there, but he can come in the second half. He may be one of your better guys, right? And so I feel like the Galaxy, even if they move Cabral to the bench, can get a boost with Cabral coming off the bench. What happens when Cabral comes off the bench is he looks a lot faster because he's running against tired players, right? And he seems to have when he's given one single task of something to do, he can do it. He gets put in dangerous spots. Vanny says that all the time. So,
do you think Vanny micromanages? Do you think he overloads the players? This is my argument with Mikel Arteta last season and earlier this season. He overloads the players with too much data and information, and it feels like micromanaging at some point.
I don't know.
Do you think Vanny does that?
That's a great question. I don't know. I feel like he's perfectly capable of doing that. I feel he's smart enough to be able to overload somebody with that information. I also think, though, he's smart enough to know when to dumb it down. And I think he can do that. Now, certainly on the sideline, I watch him like yelling at players to shift over. That's the defender in him. He can see when the Galaxy have somebody trapped, and the Galaxy have no idea that they have somebody trapped right now. There's no recognition that now is the time to sort of launch that back press, Sophie. It's like now is the time. You have them trapped against the sideline, pin them, get them going, move forward. Everybody take somebody. And he sees that. And I was talking and I was like, you can see the frustration from him on the sidelines, and it's so evident whenever the Galaxy don't press in the proper way. And he's trying to get people to move over and it's like you can see he knows where everybody's supposed to be, and everybody's like, what? Where am I supposed to be? And it's just not there yet. The 17 players is something. I think there's a lot of information, but I mean, Vanny's going to play, and I think he signaled this in the last game, after the last game, which is he's going to play his best players. They're going to play. And if they get tired in the last 9 games, they get tired, but his best players are going to play out there. And he's done with, sort of mixing around and trying to do stuff. And I think he's going to simplify everything and be like, this is what we need to do. And this is how we're going to accomplish it. And if that means that they play 100% counterattacking because he's looked at it and he says that's the best way to go about this for the last 10 games, last 9 games, that's what they're going to do. And that's what a coach should do at this point.
There are some players on this team, though, that aren't as... Okay, so you've got players who are speedy, they're fast, they're whatever. You've got players that are slow, aging in the twilight of their careers. But what you have is you've got a couple of really super smart players, footballing-wise, who think 2 moves ahead of everybody else, and the team can't keep up with that. Like sometimes I feel Julian Araujo is so ahead of everyone in his thinking, and they're not there, and they're not where they need to be. And he's already in that moment. He's already made that move,
right?
And Chicharito, for example, he's so smart. The runs that he takes up, you've missed that. Once at the beginning, you can cope with losing a player like that because you make adjustments, and players really want to prove themselves and say, we can win without him. We can score goals without him. But we did a show when he first got injured, and we said, when he's not playing, where are the goals going to come from?
Yep.
And you can deal with that in a short space of time, but over a longer period of time, and he was out a lot longer, I think, than most people thought he would be, you struggle, and you struggle to fill that void. And you struggle to replace that intelligence as well. It's not just, being in the right place at the right time. It's having the mindset to beat your opponent positionally as well. And he's so good at that in that 6-yard box and that penalty area.
Yes.
So sometimes those passes coming from the flanks are wasted because, Cabral's not that guy. Just some of these other players are not that guy.
Yeah.
So he could be the jewel in the crown in these final 9 games, Josh. He's going to be so important.
He could.
So important.
I was talking to somebody before, sort of in the middle of the season when the Galaxy were playing well even, and they're like, who's the difference maker on this team though? Like who can, and they were like, you can't just say it's Chicharito because he's not the same guy that he was. And so, is he? But I will tell you this, that if Chicharito returns to the form he was in the first 10 games, the LA Galaxy will cruise into the playoffs and they will 100%. Be a very dangerous team in the playoffs.
He may not be the same guy playing for Real Madrid or Man United or West Ham or the pace of the game in Europe, not because it's just different, right? He couldn't play that game anymore, but in this league, in this team, he's the best player. He's the best player on this team.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a fan of the signing at all.
Right.
And I'm ready to eat my humble pie because if he can come back and he can really drive this team in these last 9 games, I think he's critical. He is.
Remember when we were talking about...
Araujo is a close second to being the best player on the team.
It is, and he can only affect so much from the right back,
exactly.
right? He can score goals from right back, but you can't expect a right back to score goals.
It's not his job.
No, it's not at all. Again, and I think eSuper was talking in the chat room. I know there's other people as well, saying, that's why if the LA Galaxy have to score the first goal, don't you start your best lineup? Well, here's my problem with that is that, in my opinion, the best lineup right now that the LA Galaxy have to score a goal is with Joveljic and Chicharito up together in that lineup. And I don't know that you can play 90 minutes like that with the LA Galaxy.
Like a 4-4-2 or
I would go into a 4-4-2 of some sort, and it's going to move some. Or there's even a chance that you could even go into like a 5-3, 5-3-2, right, and have your outside backs be more of those midfielders and sort of pivot in those 2 directions. I can see that happening as well to give yourself some defensive bite. And also, what happens whenever you do that is you minimize the midfield, where we have both talked about there aren't a bunch of playmakers in that midfield. Now you can get Sebastian Lletget in there, you can get Victor Vasquez in there, and then you get one more guy. So do you get Grant Sear in there, and how does he play? The whole thing. There's a whole bunch of things that become a problem, and the Galaxy haven't played really in any of these formations for very long. So if you're going to do that down the 9 games, trying to mix that formation now doesn't seem like it's the smartest idea. So that's why I almost go back to the 4-3-3, which is what they've been playing more of this season, is probably going to be that starting lineup. So it's all this. If you need a goal, I want to see Joveljic and Chicharito out there together. You could, and I think it's perfectly reasonable, by the way, that everybody says that maybe you start them together if you need to score first, if you're the LA Galaxy, and transition to a more defensive lineup in the second half if you need to.
Also, for Joveljic as well, to play is a coming of age type of process for him too, right? Playing alongside Chicharito. and he can, feed off his energy.
Consistency for him too, right? Consistency, because we've seen a little bit up and a little bit down. Chicharito, you need consistency from him. He's missed a couple sitters in the last couple of days. So consistency for me is like one of the keys of everything. This is the theme of these next 9 games.
And Araujo the same, because sometimes he can dip in and out. And Grandsir, I think, should start. He does have a bit of an X factor about him. And even though he's been on the bench and stuff like that, there's a consistency to his game, I think. Now, some people want him to score more goals, of course. Cabral's been the slow learner in the league. Mm-hmm. But Chicharito's the one that can help build that consistency because he's going to score a lot of goals, right? Yeah. And the other thing, too, with him is, I'm not being funny, when you see him in the pressers and in the interviews and when he's talking, he is so desperate. Desperate is not the right word. It's an unfair word.
Passionate.
He is so passionate about winning MLS Cup.
Yes, he wants it. He doesn't care.
He wants it.
By the way, he
doesn't care who knows it. Yeah.
Right, yeah, and he doesn't care if he's not the reason for it. Right, like, and he's that desperate and desperate in a passionate way, I think, is the best way to sort of put that. He so wants it. He does not care if the LA Galaxy win an MLS Cup and it's best for the team for him to sit on the bench. He will be the biggest cheerleader out there, knowing that he's helped get them to this point and everything, and he will be there. That being said, he wants to be the guy. He needs to be in there. So let's get ready for this Austin game, because we've been sort of talking around it. The LA Galaxy will travel on Saturday for a Sunday, September 26th game. This game will kick off at 6:30 p.m. We've talked about it. ESPN Deportes is where you can find this nationally televised game. It will be blacked out on ESPN Plus if you have ESPN Plus. Kickoff itself will be just 8 minutes past 6:30, so not a super big long lead in. 6:38 p.m. is when they're scheduled for kickoff in this particular game. And Sophie, I'm here to tell you, in some weird twist of events, the LA Galaxy will be wearing green in the home of the Verde in Austin FC.
What?
Yes.
How is this happening?
The LA Galaxy will be wearing their community kit in Austin FC at Q2 Stadium there, and they will be the ones wearing green in the home of the green. Somebody asked me how this is possible, and I said the only way this is possible is if Austin decided they wanted to wear white. That's the
Promote
only...
another kit.
They have
Sell
their white
shirts.
kit. They have their white kit. I don't know why they wouldn't wear
It's
green.
always bizarre to me when this happens.
Right?
The only thing I can think of is they're happy to wear white and sell more shirts.
Yeah, but I mean,
they need to push them. I don't know.
Your color is green. You have a whole thing about it in your stadium.
Baffling.
You get to choose which. There's somebody asked, well, maybe MLS forced them. There's zero chance MLS came in there and said you can't wear No, they would want their. I don't know. So anyway, the Galaxy will be wearing their community kit, which is the tech green, in the home of the green. I don't know. Maybe Austin fans want to cheer for a winning team instead of a losing team. And Austin FC has lost 16 times this year already. So, and their home record ain't great either. Whenever you look at the home record, it is, and let me make sure I get it right, 3-7-2. They have 3 wins all year, 7 losses, and 2 draws. 5 times out of their 12 games that they've had at home so far, they have gotten a result. And that is it. Is
Matthew McConaughey going to be banging that drum?
I hope so. I mean, I want.
I do like a bit of Matthew.
All right. I want full Verde treatment here. I want the whole thing, and I want that stadium to be packed, which it looks like it's going to be. I know a ton of Galaxy fans are traveling, so please be careful.
Yeah.
Headed to Texas, be careful there. Come back safely. All that fun stuff. Go enjoy the game. We have some people on our Discord who actually live in Texas and are going down for this game to watch the LA Galaxy play, obviously, against Austin FC. So there's it boggles my mind how you would let an opponent come in one of your biggest games of the year, because LA Galaxy gets their eyes on them, Chicharito playing, all this stuff, the Galaxy, blah, 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 however you want to say it, leads into this game, and you're going to let them wear your color, like their color, in your house. It's like
They've already lost.
It's like if the Galaxy had a black kit, which they have had in years past, obviously, well before LAFC ever had their colors. But it would be like the LA Galaxy saying, you know what, you go ahead and wear black. We're going to wear white today. It's like, no, you shift that other team out of their colors. Get them out of their colors. I don't know. It just seems Seems like a crazy
Seems
thing.
like a rookie mistake by
It does.
Austin FC, and they will learn.
It does.
From their inaugural season.
They need to. They need to learn something because so far it hasn't been. 11-9-5, the LA Galaxy for 38 points, 4th in the Western Conference, 7th in the Supporter Shield. Austin FC, 5-16-4, 19 points total this year, 13th in the Western Conference. That's last. 26th in the Supporter Shield. Only Toronto is 1 point worse than Austin FC. Having said all of that, there are some reasons, perhaps, that the LA Galaxy will struggle against this Austin team. Now, I will call them lethargic, Austin FC on offense. They last week played San Jose. Did you see any of this game, Sophie?
I did not. I didn't. San Jose haven't been great either, but
they have not. But this was a game that was like an MLS game. At one point, I think it was 3-1 in favor of Austin at home. And they ended up losing that game 4-3, and Alexander Ring got a red card in it. Just so many things happened that went wrong, which means Ring will not be available. I think we heard today Beasler will not be available. Matt Beasler at center back will not be available as well. And so Austin will come into this down one of their better players. Alexander Ring is one of their better players in all this. Pochettino is a good player there as well. Stuver, their goalkeeper, has actually more saves than Jonathan Bond, which is, I think, hard to do. But he has 105 saves to Jonathan Bond's 89 saves. So only Austin FC have been under attack, it seems, more than the LA Galaxy. Interesting here. I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Okay. The LA Galaxy have the 4th highest average possession in a game in the league. 4th highest.
Doesn't mean anything.
Okay. Austin FC has the 2nd most possession in the league.
See? Doesn't mean anything.
The Galaxy have the 9th best offense in the league. All right. Everybody wants to pound on the LA Galaxy. They scored goals. They do score goals. They're in the top 10 in offenses. That's fine. But the Galaxy and Austin are both tied for the 6th worst defense in the league, each allowing 40 goals. So if you want to know the difference between Austin FC and the LA Galaxy right now, is the difference in the Galaxy's offense versus the Austin offense. And that seems about it.
Has the We Love affair with Bond ended? Is it his fault?
No.
It's the defender's fault, right?
If
Williams isn't... I've told you this last time I was on. I think that was an inflated, get excited about signing. And
I think he'll be okay. I'm more worried about Koulibaly in the long term than I think I am at Williams. I think Williams will be a perfectly fine... I am baffled, and I have been baffled, and people have listened to me on this podcast. I do not understand why the Galaxy's defense is this bad. There is no... I have told people who I respect greatly in this game, and I sit there and I say, listen, I'm telling you, the Galaxy's defense is not this bad. I don't get it. It does not make sense.
They're not disciplined enough.
They're not, and it's not the back line. I mean, yes, some of it is the back line. Absolutely. Guess what? Every goal is scored. It's usually somebody on the back line's fault. That's how scoring works. That's how defense works. That's usually how it is. But the midfield's lack of accountability towards anything resulting in defense just baffles me. And I sit there and go, you can't always think you're going to score goals. Like the midfield's like, oh, we're going to go score some goals. So you guys hold down the defense.
Mentally, they can't stay engaged for 90 plus minutes across however many games over a season. They just can't do it yet, but they've got to find a way to do it in the last 9 games. And Greg's talked about that before. They've got to stay. They make stupid errors, mental disengagement, and also sometimes they're exposed on the flanks because they push up that counter-attacking football that you're talking about as well. Mm-hmm. So they make stupid mistakes that they haven't eradicated, and there's 9 games left in the season, regular.
That's it.
It's just not good enough. And also, I said to you last time I was on, why is he stop with the Bond Klinsmann thing? Stop that. You don't need to rotate.
Bond's been injured, so that's why he hasn't been playing.
He's the last Minnesota game he was
injured. That one time he was not. Bond was on the bench the last time. I imagine he was still coming back from somebody just asked for a Bond and Williams injury. Actually, shout out to John, who gave us a $5 super chat for a Bond and Williams injury update. Here's the bad news, John. We'll know tomorrow. What I'm expecting is that Jonathan Bond will be available to start because he was on the bench for the last game. I imagine that now he's recovered enough, had the week off, that he is available and ready to go. On Williams and his groin injury, because Bond was a quad strain, Williams is a groin injury. We don't know. We will find out tomorrow whether or not he'll be back. So that'll be...
I mean, as much as I don't think Williams is that great. You want him back. You want him back over you know who.
Well, I think between Koulibaly and Steres, those guys are playing for who's going to be next to him. And in my opinion, Koulibaly's almost played himself out of the position multiple times. And so, even by default now, I think Dan Steres might take over that next to Williams down the stretch. We'll see. Greg isn't always a fan of Dan Steres.
Here's the problem. Another one whose legs kind of go real quick in a game.
Here's the thing that I worry about whenever I look at this is that Koulibaly is incapable of tracking anybody who's not like right next to him, and even whenever that happens, he seems to just sort of be like, you take him. And we've seen so many times where he's just stopped running with players, and that player has ended up scoring that. You got to question that. Any run off of Koulibaly's back shoulder can be a goal. He does not track anybody who's behind him. He doesn't know they're there. And so to me, that's the biggest problem is that all the teams know that, and they've all started running off his back shoulder, which is why he has gotten more and more exposed as we've sort of gone along with all these things. The Galaxy can play three in the back all they want. I don't care. Steres and Koulibaly and Williams can play that in that formation. And if you want to put Araujo on the right-hand side, he's just fine as a wingback on that.
Yeah.
Nico Hämäläinen is probably better as a wingback than he is as a left back because he likes to attack.
I would agree with that.
Villafaña, I think, can play wingback, just not for 90 minutes. So you got to figure out when you're going to use him in that attacking role. A little bit older with the legs on the outside, but still more solid defensively than Hämäläinen is. So, I mean, these are all the things that we sort of have to put into to perspective. For me, this is what I see, Soph, on this game, is that Austin's going to want to try to possess at home, and that's what they seem to do, and they don't do anything with it, and I think that works into the LA Galaxy's favor. If the Galaxy don't have to possess this ball, they will win this game. If Austin decides that they're just going to sit back and defend, the Galaxy could lose this game. So, I mean, you'd think Josh Wolf is smart enough.
They can't afford to lose this game.
No, they can't.
I mean, this would be not only would it be a disaster, but it would be embarrassing if they lost this game to this particular team at this time. Yeah, you're not a playoff team. I'm not going to say you're not a playoff team, but you're not an MLS Cup winning team if you lose to Austin. That might be a bit dramatic of me to say because there's still a chance.
Yes,
but come on, you've got to beat them and beat them convincingly.
I will tell you this, and this is the one thing that gives me hope for what I've seen, and I sort of mentioned at the beginning of the show, is that when the Galaxy play good teams, they play better. Now, they've been on the wrong side of every single one of those results, but their best games played have been in those games. And so if you're telling me that the Galaxy can gain just a little bit of momentum, just a little bit of comfort of playing against those good teams and being successful in that, then put them in a playoff position where they have to play those good teams, I don't feel horrible about that. If you're telling me, you have to go on the road and you have to play Sporting Kansas City, I'm like, could they steal something? Absolutely. The team is talented enough to steal points on the road. But that's why really being in the top four is important. Get a home playoff game so you can win that first one at home, because the next game you're going to get is probably going to be on the road. And that's going to be difficult for you. But I feel like they're good against good teams.
Yeah, a few weeks ago, I would have agreed with you more. Like, nobody would want to face LA Galaxy in the playoffs because they are that team that can just turn it on, right?
They can.
And they can. But I'm not sure about that now with certain teams. If they can improve their form, and Chicharito plays, he can score at will if he wants in that 6-yard box. Is there a player with more consistency in that 6-yard box in this league than him? No. He can do it all, and he can pick it up and turn. He's the one. They need him in this stretch. Everyone should get their little prayer mat out and just
light their little candles.
England, they used to do those, like when Wayne Rooney would get injured before, like the World Cup, or David Beckham. The center spread of the newspaper would be like his little mat, and you put your hands on it, and you'd have to pray that Beckham's metatarsal would be fine.
Yes,
by the time that England went to Japan or whatever.
This is the type of game where you want to see just that fight. You want to see the again, and we've been saying, but like a consistent level of energy. You need that consistency in energy in order to do this. You need that thought against all these. You need to be pressuring them in all the right places. And it seems like this is a team that the LA Galaxy can beat and should beat. So, I mean, this should be
Is this also, though, Josh, a game where the consistency is going to be important, but the result is the most important?
Yeah,
3
don't
points.
care how it happens.
Don't care how it happens. Don't care if it goes off Cabral's nose. Who cares as long as it goes
Don't
in?
care. It does not matter.
Yeah.
It could be as ugly as you want it to be. There are no points for pretty, and the LA Galaxy have sort of proven that throughout this year. Play pretty all you want, guys. Go ahead. You don't get points for that. So that's it. All right. Any last? Actually, you know what? We do have a winner of our secret word, Marvin.
You do? Who's it?
You, sir, are the winner. Consistency is the word. Just there at the end. Sophie and I have been going in and out of it. We've been trying to get back to it. We've been working on it, the whole deal. So I don't know if we did a great job, but Marvin, you got it. Consistency is our word for today. And by the way, a great theme. If you were going to wear a t-shirt that had a word on it for the rest of these 9 games, it has to be that consistency for the LA Galaxy. So thanks, Marvin. Send me an email. Let me know your address, and I will send you out some stickers and stuff like that. So we appreciate it. Sophie, your score for this weekend against Austin?
Well, goals have been tough to come by, but this is it. This is the game to bang the goals in and get some consistency and confidence is another key word. Confidence is going to be key. I'm going to go for a cheeky 3-1.
3-1. I was going to say 3-1, but I feel like it'll be closer. Like, it'll be 3-1, and then you get into the 88th minute, and Austin will score a stupid goal, and it'll be 3-2, and everybody is squeaky bum time down the way. But the Galaxy should win. They are expected to win. We'll use last week's secret word as well. They're expected to win. This season is tough. This whole thing that's coming down is ridiculously hard for the LA Galaxy. Everything that you see from them right now is going to be a struggle because they're not playing well and they don't have the confidence. But you get a good win against Austin, you go on the road to RSL, you get a draw there, and you're home to LAFC with a chance on national television and Landon Donovan induction day. If Landon doesn't give the pregame speech and tell everybody to get fired up, I don't know what's happening in the world, but that's what would happen if I was the coach of this. And so there is time to gain momentum. These next 3 games are sort of that time. You have the home games coming up. You're going to be equal 4 at home, 4 away after this Austin game. This Austin game should be 3 points because they're not a good team. I don't think they scare the Galaxy on offense. Yes, they can score goals, but it takes a lot for them to do that. So in all ways, this should be an LA Galaxy win, and that's where I'm putting it. 3-2 for me. You say 3-1. That would mean the LA Galaxy score 3 goals, even though we said they've had trouble scoring goals. But I like it. I'm with you as well. It feels like it's going to go. By the way, eSuper says no way it's going to be like a 1-0 game. Hey, listen.
Probably.
At this point, I don't even know. Somebody, he was saying 4-0, even 4-0 as well. It doesn't matter. I don't care if it bounces off Greg Vanney and goes into the net. As long as it counts, everything is good for the Galaxy. They need the 3 points here. This is a makeup.
Chicharito's playing in this game, right?
He should be available. I've not heard that he's not available, and you can bet Greg Vanney's not going to tell us tomorrow because there'd be no reason to ask about him. He should be fine.
Right.
Like there was no injury. He's good. He should be playing. There's no problems there. So the only people we're watching are Jonathan Bond and Derek Williams. Those are the only 2 on the injury watch that I know of. So, all right, that's what we got.
Very cool.
I think we're good. Everybody, thank you for playing along with our secret word game there. Thank you for playing for the Wikipedia game as well. We appreciate that. We'll keep playing these on Thursdays. Thursdays only because I try not to give Kevin too much to think about while he's doing his podcast. We don't want him going off all sideways and stuff like that. So Thursday night
was it Sub-Zero for him? I tuned into the show for a bit and I'm like, why is Kevin dressed like it's wintertime?
Like a blue Smurf? Yes.
Well, he was wearing. Yeah. Was he just showing off his Man City gear because he's got a new scarf? Or
somebody complained about his open collar and the chest that was exposed whenever he was wearing his U.S. men's national team polo the day before. So Kevin decided that he didn't want to offend anybody, so he put on his beanie, he put on his scarf, he did all that, and he did it. I will tell you 100% that after we're done, I said, "Are you hot?" He goes, "I'm sweating." So he spent the whole hour, sweating, and doing the whole thing. So it was fun.
Good.
All right. Soph, anything else you want to talk about, or are we good?
No, all good. And look, let's get the win. And thanks again for having me. You rock. Absolutely brilliant. And at some point, you will come and sort out my lighting.
We'll get it
We need
fixed.
to go on a lighting spree.
Yeah. Absolutely. Amazon has everything. We can help you out. Sophie, tell people where they can find you. Let's go.
At Highbury Squad, give it a shot on YouTube. Bit of Arsenal, bit of Premier League, bit of everything really. And same on Twitter, and then at Soccer Diva on Twitter for me. Thanks very much, everyone. Stay safe no matter where you are, and come on the LA Galaxy. Let's get this.
All right, there you go. There goes Sophie, Miss Sophie Nicolaou. If you're looking for me at Guesman, JGUESMAN, and of course at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. Podcast shows. Great one with Dennis Kloese. Catch our Monday show as well. Lots of previews going. Some live coverage tomorrow of the press conference as well, and we'll find out who's available and how the LA Galaxy are feeling ahead of Austin. All right, that does it for Miss Sophie the Cannon Nicolaou. I'm Josh Patrick Guesman. You've been listening, you've been watching to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. We'll see you on Monday, everybody. Have a great one.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.